Hey everybody, the president is going to roll out his $1.5 trillion infrastructure plan, and I, being on the White House press list, Zenny 62 Media, have a copy of it right here. See that? And I'll read it to you real quick. It's Building a Stronger America, President Donald J. Trump's American Infrastructure Initiative. He says that, and I'll leave the platitudes out for a second and just get to the meat of it. It says, building America's infrastructure. Today, President Trump released his legislative goals, $200 billion in federal funds to spur at least $1.5 trillion in infrastructure investments with partners at the state, local, tribal, and private level. So it's really a $200 billion program, not $1.5 trillion. Decision-making authority will be returned to the state and local governments. Regulatory barriers that needlessly got in the way of infrastructure projects will be removed. Permitting for infrastructure projects will be streamlined and shortened. America's workforce will be supported and strengthened. And then he says stimulate infrastructure investment. He proposes to do that with the $200 billion. And then they take this and explain how they believe this $200 billion in federal funds will promote state and local government investment, and then of that, $100 billion will be an incentive program to spur additional dedicated funds, they claim, from the state, localities, and private sector. And then they said they will evaluate the applications for the incentive program on an objective criteria, with creating additional infrastructure investment being the largest factor. This says the incentives program will promote accountability, making federal funds conditional on projects meeting agreed upon milestones. $20 billion will be dedicated to the Transformation Projects Program, which is a new program they say will provide federal aid for, quote, bold and innovative projects, unquote, that have the potential to drastically improve America's infrastructure. The program will focus on projects that could have a significant positive impact on states and cities. $20 billion will be allocated to expanding infrastructure financing programs. Of the $20 billion, $14 billion will go to expanding a number of existing credit programs. $6 billion, will go to expanding private activity bonds. $10 billion will go to a new federal capital revolving fund, which will reduce inefficient leasing of federal real property, which would be more cost-effective to purchase. And a new fund will allow some incremental revenue from energy development on public lands to pay for capital and maintenance of public lands infrastructure. Then they're going to invest in rural America, contributing $50 billion of the $200 billion to that. And they will increase state and local authority. Federal funds awarded to state and local authorities, such as through the incentives program, will be allocated to infrastructure and projects the states prioritize. They will eliminate regulatory barriers, as said before, and then it will say that it will provide flexibility, incentivize development, give the Department of Veteran Affairs the flexibility, and give the United States Army Corps of Engineers more flexibility, expand funding eligibility for land revitalization projects through the Superfund program, and then it will streamline permitting by working with Congress to shorten in the environmental review process, eliminate certain redundant and inefficient provisions, and they will invest in our country more important asset, its people. It says the president is proposing reforms to help Americans secure good-paying jobs and meet the needs of our infrastructure. And it says the plan will reform federal education and workforce development and make high-quality short-term programs. So I have to say candidly, most of this is not a plan as it is a forecast of what a $200 billion expenditure will do. That's really what this is. So it's not a $1.5 trillion program. It's really a $200 billion program of federal funds, but the problem, as I see it, trying to decipher this, is that this does not purport to say that this 200 billion is new spending. It seems to put it out as if it's existing spending that may very well be going already to states that they say are that they're trying to essentially prioritize or at least politicize as if they're prioritizing. My point is, a standard plan basically says, here's the spending, here's where the spending dollars are going to come from, here's where the spending is going to be used for, and it's going to be managed by the federal government. This says that to a degree, but it's also very incomplete. The milestones haven't been established by reading this. Much of the details have to be worked out just by reading this. For example, the program will focus on projects that could have a significant positive impact on states, cities, and localities, but may not attract private sector investment. But does that mean that a person applies for them through a website? How does that work? And so there's a lot of here in terms of details that need to be fleshed out. There it is.